Hello everyone, welcome to our Timeless Oracle reading. Our Oracle card for today belongs to the Mediumship Training deck, and the card is entitled Power of Prayer. Prayer is important in our spiritual life. We need prayer. The divine does not need prayer because the divine is constantly with us. The divine is constantly in touch with us. We need to live in the presence of the divine, just as we need to live in the presence of oxygen in order to survive. Our spirit needs to be in the presence of the divine in order to survive. But whether we are aware of it, consciously aware of the presence of the divine, or not, we still survive. And you know why? It's because the divine is always there and he constantly provides for all our needs, whether we are aware of it or not, whether we believe in him or not. Sometimes people wonder, for example, a person does not believe in the presence of the divine, or a person has chosen to just not to worry about it, so they choose to be an agnostic or an atheist. An atheist really denies the presence of God. An agnostic, well, he does not deny the presence of God, but he does not also try to find out whether there is really a God. He just says, let it be. Okay. Well, it's a rough definition and it can be contested by other people. Well, we're not here to try to go into the details, but even if you doubt the presence of the divine, even if you deny the presence of the divine, you still need to talk to your subconscious mind. You still need to talk to your inner self. You still need to talk to your higher self. Okay, you could refer to the divine in many ways. The divine doesn't care, because people call him in many ways, and he doesn't care. Whether we recognize his presence or not, he will continue to love us. He will continue to provide for all our needs, because it's part of his nature. It's part of his nature to provide for everything that came from him, because he is the source of all things. So he will constantly provide for them. He has an invisible umbilical cord to everything that he has created. And everything that he's created is floating in that amniotic fluid of his presence. Sometimes when we look at prayer, we get to be overwhelmed because we think of those mystics who spend hours and hours in solitude and silence trying to discover God in the silence of their heart. When you look at prayer, the simplest definition of prayer is conversation with God, conversation with the Spirit, conversation with the divine. And the conversation is usually initiated by the divine. Actually, the divine is constantly conversing with us. So the first step to prayer is just learning to listen, learning to be aware that the divine is constantly communicating with us. So it's like being aware of how the divine moves in our life. We start prayer, or the awareness of prayer, in that learning to listen. Okay, how do we learn to listen to the divine? It's simple. If, for example, you are sitting and aspiring for something, for example, I wish I can have a blueberry cheesecake, okay? And suddenly, out of the blue, somebody arrives saying, look, I just experimented on how to cook the blueberry cheesecake. Would you like to taste it? Okay, that's the divine already saying, I know what you want, and here it is. All you have to do is to say thank you. That short phrase of thank you is already a prayer. For example, you are walking in the dark and you all feel very afraid. And in that fear, suddenly a black cat jumps in front of you. And suddenly you find yourself shouting and calling up to the name of the divine, calling out the name of the divine. Some people would say, stop cursing. No, you are not cursing. You just recognize that at that moment you need the divine. And that short expression of the name of the divine is actually already a prayer. Prayer is as simple as recognizing or listening to the divine and responding in our own small way. When good things happen to you and you take a deep breath and say, "Thank you, Lord," that's already a prayer. When you sit down by the beach and you see the brilliance of the sunrise and you take a deep breath and you recognize the presence of the divine at that moment, that is already a prayer. If at this time you are in that point in your life where you do not believe in the presence of the divine and you have a big problem, well, why do you have to handle it alone? You can always say a short prayer like saying, "Look, Lord, I do not know if you really exist. I still haven't convinced myself of your presence. But right now I have a problem. If you really exist, can you help me with this one? Because I cannot handle it on my own." That one is already a prayer. When somebody is becoming very difficult, and then you take a deep breath and you say, "Lord, give me the patience to endure this moment," that is already prayer. We start with little things such as this, and you accumulate it throughout the day. And before you know it, you start to develop that habit of being aware of the presence of God in your life. When you become aware of synchronicities, when you become aware of numbers repeating, when the ordinary phrases you hear from other people start to have a significant meaning, you are already listening to the touches of the divine. And when you respond, even with just a short phrase as "thank you," it's already prayer. Prayer has two elements, listening and also responding. Oftentimes, so many times each day, the divine already initiates the conversation. All we have to do is to jump into the bandwagon and enjoy that presence that the divine is providing us. The deeper we go into our spiritual journey, the more transformation we undergo. The more we realize that prayer is really that simple. And then you will be like Saint Augustine saying, "Late have I loved you, O marvelous divine. I was looking for you in the farthest places out there, when actually you are here with me." Like in Psalm 139, "Lord, you are before me, you are behind me, you are around me, you are inside me, Lord, you're just here." When you start to become aware of the presence of the divine in your life, when you become to be aware of the touches of the divine in your ordinary life experiences, and when you start to respond by simply saying "thank you," when you start to respond even just by having teary eyes or just having tingling sensations in your body, you are already responding in prayer to the divine. Prayer doesn't have to be complex. It's as simple as taking a deep breath. The important thing is learning to listen to the divine so that we can respond to his touches. Prayer is actually a conversation between two lovers. the divine, and the beloved. Now let's try to read from the back of the card regarding the power of prayer, and maybe we can gain more insights regarding prayer. Prayer to the divine source should be part of any medium's regular routine. Time and time again, the power of prayer is a vital tool to aid healing and confirm the love and support in our lives. Prayer comes in that moment of communion when we open our hearts to a power greater than our own. Equally, prayers can be those quiet moments of solitude where we take time to listen from within. When it comes to developing mediumship, prayer is important for preparation. It is a powerful part of creating a loving and respectful link with Spirit. You can do it as part of your meditation before any communication takes place, prior to teaching or demonstrating. The power of prayer can provide strength, not just when times are tough, but equally when you need inspiration or guidance to keep you on the right track. Try not to pray just when you desire something, but instead take the time to give praise and gratitude. Pray when you are at peace. Pray because you want to. Pray to just say hello to God. Pray to help you understand how it works. Pray for the simple act of praying. If this card is calling you, it is time to take a moment and send up the love. Simply speak from your heart to the divine source. Faith is key. Rest in knowing your prayers will be heard and honored as always. When people start to notice you talking to yourself, when it becomes an ordinary thing for you to talk to God, well, right now, it doesn't matter anymore if you talk to yourself. Before, when the cell phone is not yet popular, when people see you talking to yourself, they think you're crazy. But now, when people see you talking to yourself, they will say, oh, maybe he has a Bluetooth speaker and he's talking to somebody on the phone. Okay, so don't be ashamed to talk to yourself in public. People no longer notice it too much. When we start to talk naturally to the divine, as if we are talking to a friend, it's a sign already that you are learning actually how to pray. Because somehow you see God working in your life and you are responding to Him. Sooner or later, the deeper you go in your relationship with the divine, it will be natural for you to see how the divine loves you. And it will be natural for you to say thank you. So, don't be too intimidated by the word prayer. You're actually doing it. You have been doing it since childhood. Actually, you do it much better when you were a child. Try to recall how you interact with the divine when you were still young. And try to regain those little gems that you might have lost along the way. Well, that's it for today. I hope that this oracle reading has been enriching for you. Thank you for the likes and comments that you've given to the channel. Thank you for subscribing. I hope to see you again soon. Until that time, may God continue to bless your ways.